Teal Swan has been a controversial figure for decades. She's made some very intense allegations that have since been debunked. She's made some wild claims about her upbringing and experience with satanic ritual abuse, and she's guided her followers into teachings, beliefs, and practices that have proven detrimental to their mental health. There have been allegations for years that she has an inner circle that is kind of a mini cult, but also people share that her ideology is actually inherently dangerous. So today I thought we would see for ourselves. So sit back, relax, and take a deep breath. It's time to let the fresh air in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is Erin, and I am fascinated by all things cult, true crime, and unique spiritual practices. If you're into this sort of thing, well, if you hit that subscribe button, you will not be disappointed because I post several videos every week on one of these topics. Now, my OG subscribers know that I think it was a 6-part deep dive on Teal Swan about a year and a half ago. This is the link to the master playlist, but throughout this video, I will also link episode 1, episode 2, etc., because we go deep into these details. Now, I'm not here to say that everything Teal Swan says is bad and people shouldn't listen to it. Back when I was on a very woo-woo spiritual journey, I found Teal Swan and some things did resonate with me. But that's the thing about cults and spirituality and dangerous groups in general. There's always that first hook. There's always something that pulls people in. So once we start taking a step back and we're no longer clouded with this veil of, oh, they know everything, they're otherworldly, Teal knows all of the Akashic Records, so everything she says is true. That is a claim that she makes, even though she has plagiarized a lot of her videos, allegedly. Today, I thought we would watch some of the ways she kind of promotes misogyny, to be honest. Now, I do want to make a disclaimer. Everything I share in this video, besides what Teal says herself, is my own opinion. And due to freedom of fair use here in the United States, despite the fact that Teal does have a disclaimer on her videos that no one else can use her videos or repurpose them, legally, since she posts it publicly online, as long as my content is longer than her content and I'm presenting a commentary about what she's doing, I can use her videos free and clear. But in order to protect myself, I have altered them a little bit. I think I'm going to alter her voice and maybe the visual aspects just slightly. And that's just to protect myself in case Teal and her team come after me for whatever reason. There have also been multiple docuseries about Teal. There have been multiple podcasts about her. So I will leave all of those resources, as long as I remember all of them, down in the resources in that pinned comment down below. So I'm sure you're like, please shut the fuck up, Erin, and get to the video. So today we are going to try to answer the question, does Teal Swan hate women? Let's see.
It isn't very popular to talk about why people cheat. Suggesting that a person has a reason to do it basically makes people feel like the blame is shifting from the person who cheated to the person who was cheated on. Nevertheless, for the sake of conscious awareness, it is important to accept that people do have reasons for doing the things that they do. And this includes
one of my biggest pet peeves is generalizing an entire group of people. Obviously, we all know that cheating is wrong. But trying to just take a whole gender and be like, this is why all of you cheat. I believe that people cheat for very personal and intimate reasons. But let's just go ahead and hear what Teal Swan has to say, because certainly she's not going to blame women for men cheating, is she?
cheating. While there are a variety of reasons why a person might cheat on their partner, there is one glaring primary reason that men cheat, and there is one glaring primary reason that women cheat, and it isn't the same. In today's episode, I'm going to reveal to you the main reason that men cheat. The main reason that men cheat is insecurity. It happens when a man is experiencing low self-esteem and a diminished sense of self-worth, especially within the context of his current relationship. Men use cheating as a way to seek validation for their worth and in order to feel more needed, valuable, and desirable. When a man feels inadequate or feels like he's not living up to his partner's
Okay, I feel like that plays a part in anyone who ever cheats. So to say it's just the reason why men do it, this is just another reason for men to go to therapy, for everyone to go to therapy. If you are feeling like you are insecure or you are not feeling satisfied in your relationship, a therapist can provide tools so that you can communicate those things to your partner. Aside from therapy, you must share these things with your partner. Now, I don't know if she's going to jump into like the gender roles that society places on men, and I am not going to sit here and pretend that there isn't a mental health epidemic among men, especially young men. When society tells any group of people where their value should be derived from, and society starts to change, and that conditioning doesn't catch up with how society is changing, then that leads anyone, whether you're a man, a woman, whatever, however you identify, it's going to start feeling like you have to catch up. Like you've spent your whole life trying to, live up to the status quo and, society's expectation of you. But all of a sudden, you meet a woman who doesn't necessarily need you, if we want to stick to these gender normative rules. If a man cannot yet provide for a woman, but falls in love with a woman who can provide for herself and doesn't necessarily need him, what does that make his role? Why also is he blaming that successful woman for his inability to derive his security from anywhere else? It is an individual's responsibility to manage their own insecurities. But it's also important to recognize that every single individual and couple wants something else from their romantic partner. I've talked about this a lot. I am a highly independent, highly driven woman. I am a workaholic. I want to contribute 50-50 to my household. That is a me thing. I have friends that would like to be just the homemaker and their husband works and brings in the money and they just get to use it. More power to them. I also have friends that flourish being single people, single parents, and they are crushing it right now. There is no such thing, in my opinion, as the nuclear family anymore. So when Teal Swan or any spiritual leader tries to fit people into this kind of mundane, generalized box, I personally believe that it's only harmful to that person's mental health. It is not empowering. This, in my opinion, is disempowering to both men and women because, from my perspective, where I'm sitting right now, Teal Swan is about to talk about how if you don't make your man feel comfortable and like supported and loved at home, then he will go out and cheat on you. But that's also vice versa for women. People just need to respect and support each other. If you love someone, I would hope you respect and support them and don't do things that would hurt them. And if you find yourself straying, you have to look in the mirror and understand, what am I not receiving? Am I incompatible with my partner? Instead of blaming somebody else for all of the things you're feeling and acting out in a way that will inevitably hurt your partner. I feel like I just rambled, and for that, I apologize. Now you're word salading just like Teal word salading. You need to stop.
expectations, cheating can be a way that he experiences someone appreciating and admiring him. Men are particularly sensitive to being pushed away. When a person is pushed away, they usually take it personally. And when a person takes being pushed away personally, they feel bad about themselves. That's kind of a no-brainer, right? They feel inadequate and therefore uncertain about everything. For example, uncertain about their own abilities and competence, uncertain about their capacity to handle situations, uncertain about their own value, uncertain about their relationships, and therefore totally insecure in those relationships, uncertain about their future, and the list goes on and on. They feel out of control. Their confidence goes away when this happens. They feel diminished. This is a horrible experience for anyone, but for the masculine, it's a true hell on earth. It disconnects them from a sense of their own power. So, a man may seek out another person, such as another woman, as a kind of way of gaining that control back of this insecurity spiral. With the other person, they experience the validation that they have value, that they are desirable, attractive, adequate, capable, competent, admired, wanted, and needed. All of this increases their confidence and sense of power. Men who cheat as a tonic for their insecurity will choose to cheat with other people, like other women, who best provide this emotional experience for them. This is actually why a lot of times men who cheat because of insecurity will cheat down, if you've ever heard that expression. It means they go for somebody who you would think is less of a catch than their partner they already have. What they'll do is they'll go for a person who pulls them in and makes them feel good about themselves. When you hear this about men, it's tempting to feel like you have.
I don't know what's going on with her audio, but she is a multimillionaire and it's driving me crazy. There's like a piece of jewelry knocking her mic or something, and I'm going crazy. Every day I find a new symptom where it makes me think maybe I do have ADHD because these little things like drive me so crazy.
Tiptoe around their ego or else you're going to be cheated on. That's not the takeaway. A man can take negative feedback provided that he also feels the opposite of that negative feedback in the relationship. Essentially, that you pull him in, that you value him, want him, need him, and appreciate him. What people, especially women, really need to accept about men is that men need to feel needed, wanted, and valued for who they are and what they do. They need to have a place in your life and to.
Listen, Teal, this is for everybody. That's literally what any type of relationship is, whether it's a platonic one or a romantic one. It's a symbiotic relationship we are giving and taking to each other. I don't think it's fair to say, well, all men are really bad at taking feedback unless you basically fluff up their ego so they can handle it. Nope. They're men, they're grown-ups. They can handle feedback. They handle feedback from their bosses. They handle feedback from their coworkers. Why can't they handle feedback from their partner? They're more than willing to give feedback to their partner. How many women, I'm sure women in the comments can share the amount of expectations that random strange men on the internet or in public have imposed upon you. And you're walking around like, I don't really care what men do as long as they're not negatively affecting me or somebody else. I honestly just want them to leave me alone most of the time. I don't really pay much attention to them. But I'm sure in retort to that, Teal would be like, well, you should be paying attention to them. Not if they make me uncomfortable. Not if I'm not interested in getting that attention. It is okay as a woman to bring up your grievances to your partner. In fact, it's okay no matter your gender to bring up grievances towards your partner as long as you can do it in a very constructive way that brings up solution and isn't just you both kind of just going at each other.
Derive a sense of self esteem from being in that place. Well, something that leads to that sense of self esteem is to actually be esteemed by you for being in that place in your life. When you are in a relationship with a man, you have got to make space in your life for him to have a place in your life. He needs to be pulled in by you. He needs to feel as if you need him, as if you want him, as if you value him. This makes a man feel connected.
Why is it my responsibility to do that? Why? Why? I think everybody wants to be chosen. Everybody wants to be needed or feel needed. But something have told my husband, like, no, it's not that I need you. I could do life without you. But to me, it's more special to know I'm choosing you every single day because I love you. I love everything that you have to offer me. No matter if I meet someone who is intriguing or gives me a different kind of attention that maybe I'm not used to having after a 10-year relationship, right? It doesn't really matter to me because at the end of the day, I know I'm choosing my husband every single time, and I trust and know that he's doing the same for me. So I hate that this is becoming like why men cheat versus why women cheat, and men cheat because the woman is not giving them all of the things they need in their relationship to make them feel esteemed. Are men really so fragile that they can't get self-confidence from any other place? Is that what you're saying, Teal? That men can't take care of themselves? That men need to be pandered to by women so they won't go cheat and do something that could destroy their whole life, whole family? Why is that the woman's responsibility? It's not.
And committed to you. If you want to learn more about this, by the way, you can watch my video that is titled What Every Woman Should Know About Men. Some examples of things that are antidotes to insecurity for a man are giving him direct positive feedback, fully taking in and receiving his physical affection, fully taking in and receiving what he gives to you or does for you, showing with your reactions to him and your body language.
I feel like because these were allegations against Teal back when I did my deep dive about her. I feel like she is really kind of for the male gaze. She really knows how to draw men into her own atmosphere, kind of. She is very magnetic. She's very beautiful. And when I think she's sharing stuff like this, it might be the first time a man has heard it. And again, I want to say, like, I don't want to distinguish or invalidate any men's experience if they have felt this way and felt unneeded. I'm just saying it does not justify poor behavior. How many men have literally hurt or murdered somebody because they couldn't recognize that anger is an emotion that they have to manage? But if a woman cries, she's emotional. No, men's emotions manifest stereotypically and statistically into violence. Women's manifest into tears and inward thinking and maybe some gossip among friends. This is a bigger conversation about what mental health resources can we provide men and the acceptance and deconstruction of men moving against the status quo and not being so conditioned from young boys to think that their emotions, their feelings, the way they connect with people is bad. We need to allow people to be who they are regardless of their gender.
That what he's doing has a positive effect on you. Flirting with him, accepting his help, reflecting to him what his role in your life is and how much you value what he does for you in this role.
God, this sounds like so much work.
Complimenting him in front of others, asking him for his opinion, listening to his feelings and thoughts with the attitude that you see them as important, encouraging his being in power rather than turning against it, giving him admiration for his masculine traits, trusting him in his methods or ways, if he is trustworthy, that is, acknowledging and drawing attention to his areas of competence, respecting his time, telling him where you are confident in him. That's just a little taste of some of the things that makes a man feel really good within a relationship. That's the opposite of insecurity within that relationship. As a man, when you are feeling the impulse to cheat based off of feeling insecurity, I want you to stop and realize that what you are going for is
Those things make anyone
self-esteem
feel
via
good
the
within a
other person.
relationship.
Think about the fact that even though
Come on now.
cheating with someone may give you some of these feelings that you're needing, they come at the price of self-esteem as well. Can you truly feel good about yourself if you betray someone and by doing so lose trust and respect in yourself and see yourself as bad and wrong and hurtful and immoral? Because if you have agreed to a monogamous relationship and you cheat, this is how you are going to feel about yourself. The alternative is to work directly on your insecurities and self-esteem so that you become confident and have a higher self-esteem. The alternative is also to directly address the issues in your relationship, including the fact that in this relationship you feel unloved and or rejected and or undervalued.
Good job, Teal.
And or unwanted and or not respected and or emasculated by her and or potentially even worthless in her eyes. What you are looking to co-create is a relationship where you feel esteemed in the relationship. Some of this involves you doing what would get you that esteem from your partner. i.e., earning their high regard. And some of this involves them actively and consciously speaking and acting in ways that show you that they do hold you in high esteem, that they do want and need and value you. If fidelity is something that you want, one way to be empowered about it, rather than just leaving it up to the other person to be faithful no matter what, is making sure that the man in your life knows and feels that you need, want, and value him.
But how many men have women felt like they did all of this to and the man still went out and cheated? Some men, some people are just selfish. Some people think they can have their cake and eat it too. One of the most silly debates I feel like I've had with friends or younger friends who are dating is the idea of exclusivity, where I feel like nowadays it's so immature and weird to be spending so much time with someone. You're seeing them like 3, 4 times a week. In my head, I'm like, you're dating them. That's your partner. That's your boyfriend. How do you have time for anybody else? And they're like, not until we have the talk, not until we have the exclusivity talk. I'm like, I met my husband on a vacation and I left that vacation and was like, that's my boyfriend now. And maybe that wasn't the greatest mindset, but look, it worked for me. And I understand there's a protectiveness that we all kind of do when we're dating. Like, until they show me they're committed to me, I'm not committing to them. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I totally understand that. But it feels like, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the end of the video, but there's only about 25 seconds left. I keep waiting for her to kind of surprise me. Like I feel like Teal is almost getting there. And then she like swerves and I'm like, "Wait. You just got into a car accident. We were cruising for a second. You were talking about communicating with your partner and sharing with them that you're not feeling a certain way or you're needing some more validation or you're not feeling esteemed by them." And instead, she turns it and is like, if you're the woman, you need to make them feel that way. Again, why am I responsible for a grown man's feelings, especially if I feel like I am doing those things? Plus, there are people out there that just want to cheat. They just want to cheat. That's It sucks. So lumping everyone into this reason isn't fair. And I think it also kind of allows more people to be like, well, I cheated because I wasn't feeling secure in the relationship, and you should have made me feel better in my relationship with you. And I wasn't getting everything I needed from you. So I went out and I cheated, and this is on you. That is not fair. I mean, she starts the video saying, when you talk about cheating, it's kind of a touchy subject because the people who get cheated on think that you're telling them that it's their fault. What did you just spend the last 7 minutes telling us, Teal? That if you don't make your male partner feel esteemed and put on a pedestal and respect him and needed and wanted at all times, he's going to go out and cheat. No. In my opinion, that's not fair. It's a two-way street.
For this reason, a powerful question to ask yourself is, how could I show him that he is needed by me, that he is wanted by me, and that he is valued by me? And then act on this answer that you receive.
Oh, man. I don't know why it just gets me so heated. Maybe it's because I am a raging feminist, but but honestly, I just think it's so funny to like group people up into these generalizations and forget that we're all individual humans who are each having our own individual experience, who come to this planet and experience this planet with different levels of conditioning. So I just find it strange that we continue to lump everybody up into one category when we have all of these varietals within all of us. I don't know. So this next video is called The Supportive Woman's Conundrum. Let's see what Teal has to say here.
For thousands of years, a woman's role in society was largely defined by her domestic and reproductive functions. There are always exceptions to any rule, but for the most part, women have played the supportive role to other people in their lives, and they've been defined by their role in other people's lives. Their relationship with other people, whether it was their family of origin, or their husbands, or their children, was about supporting them. This support could take on many forms: caregiving, nurturing, enabling, helping other people in need. Cooking, cleaning, sewing, raising children to be functional and successful, healing, assisting their husbands in their endeavors, and the list goes on. Fast forward to today. Times have changed. You can't just erase thousands of years worth of conditioning about this being a woman's role. You can't just erase thousands of years worth of conditioning that a woman is and should be caretaking, nurturing, helpful, collaborative, receptive, passive, gentle, service oriented, vulnerable, sensitive, caring, maybe submissive, and supportive. This is still a bias people have towards women, and yet society has also changed, most especially with the women's rights movement.
What do we think Teal thinks about the women's rights movement? I'm scared. I'm scared about what she's gonna say. I am. Again, we're lumping all of women all across the entire world, across different continents, across different cultures, putting them all into one box. All of them. But throughout history, there have been these incredible women who have stepped out of that societal norm. It's just more acceptable now. So there are more women who do it. Let's just try to see what she has to say.
The women's rights movement changed a lot for the better regarding women's lives. But the women's rights movement didn't only usher in good things for women. There were some real unexpected downsides that came along with it. One of them being that it brought women into a dire lose-lose situation. The women's rights movement cast a light on the traditional roles for a woman within society as being nothing more than the byproduct of patriarchal oppression, as evidence of a woman being seen as less than and therefore not equal to men. And from this place of being seen as inferior, women who were a part of this movement began to fight to gain equality by being able to be what men could be and do what men could do. Gradually, as a result of this social movement, society began to shift what was valued in women, as well as the idea of what role they should be playing within society. In much of the world, especially the Western world, women are now expected to become independent, to be educated, and enter the workforce in a career, and gain personal.
Okay. I think if you've been on the internet at all, especially in the last 5 years, you would know that this is not the general belief. I would say that women are still constantly fighting to be seen as equals. I worked in a male dominant field. Every day I was in a room where I was the only woman and I had to fight to be heard. The amount of times I would go and meet a client with my male boss, and that client, who was also a male, would not even look at me, would not shake my hand, would not speak to me, would not give me eye contact, when I was going to have to be the person that if we took them on as a client, that they would deal with on a daily basis. Absolutely despicable behavior. In certain circles, women are still fighting to not just be able to take on the same role as men, but just be heard and respected. Society is still catching up to a lot of the things that women were fighting for during the women's rights movement. And I always find it so fascinating. I find it fascinating with videos like this, but also throughout the trad wifes, movement online is these are women who are effectively leaders of their online community. They're making money. They are oftentimes the breadwinner, but they're proposing this traditional family unit. And it doesn't make sense because it's like you are hypocritical because you are making the money for your family. Are you not? You're encouraging women to be passive and take a back seat, and yet you're front and center in front of the camera, getting your brand deals, sharing your message. You're the puppet master here, but you're telling other women to not rise up to leadership, to not take on roles of power, to diminish their light. Why? Oh, It's because you want men to take you seriously. It's the internalized misogyny that you have from your conditioning from growing up, because you still believe that if you can get more men to respect you and follow you, you will make more money. What does that say about you, Teal, specifically, but also anyone in this atmosphere where they're effectively disempowering women and then empowering men who are trying to convince their partners who are women to submit to them? We are digressing when we hear this type of rhetoric.
Success. The lose-lose situation is that now women are subconsciously expected to do and be both. Both the support giver who is nurturing and gentle and helpful and who does the domestic tasks, including bearing and raising children, and the success-oriented, career-driven go-getter who is strong and assertive and independent and competitive and is a financial provider.
I don't think that this is necessarily the expectation. I think that this is a symptom of economic troubles where we find it in America almost impossible to survive on a single income household, especially if you have children. So that creates the expectation of, well, yes, the woman, even if she wants to stay home, has to go out and work to bring in money so the family can survive. The thing that's actually missing from this equation typically is that a lot of men refuse to take on the at-home labor. So it stops being 50-50 and it starts being like 70-30. And the man still thinks, well, just because I was out and working all day, I get to come home and do nothing while you rear our children, even though you also were out working all day. Again, society has not caught up. Now, a lot of people, I would put myself in this category, are very lucky where our male partners are willing and able and excited to consider us being a team. I think that's what a healthy relationship is. You strip away whether it means I'm a man or a woman and this is my role, blah, blah, blah. We're a team. What is our goal? We want to keep the house clean and orderly while making good money. Okay, one day you do the dishes, the next day I do the dishes. One day, well, I usually do the cooking. I was about to say cooking, but okay, can you help me with laundry? I'm feeling really busy here. It's always a balance. If my husband is really, really, really busy at work, okay, I take on a little more home labor. Oh my gosh, I'm really, really, really busy at work. Wow, David surprises me by bringing me food home and having dinner ready for me because he knows I had a rough day and the house is clean and everything's great and my clothes are washed and folded and put away. That's what a partnership is. If you strip away these bullshit gender roles, you could actually have a very well-balanced partnership.
To simplify this, we could say that the women's rights movement ushered in a gender crisis in both men and women. But in this video, we're talking about women. Women were suddenly expected to be both a man and a woman at the same time, to be all the roles and therefore all things to all people. Now, in reality, a woman cannot be stretched so
This is such a stupid argument to me. I hate this. I I hate this binary thinking. I really, really, really do. Because we're not living in this type of a society anymore. We can't, like I said, we can't live off a single income household. Some women, they love working. I love working. I get a lot of my value from being busy and working and moving towards the level of success that I want to have. My husband also does. I also am really happy when my home is clean. So I make sure to clean it every single week and upkeep it throughout the week. But like I have a big cleaning day, usually once a week, right? Now, my husband, he doesn't always participate in the big cleaning day, but typically he is doing more of the work than I am, especially now that I left my day job. I mean, I'm putting a lot of work into my channel now and my content and some things that I'm working on the side that are bringing in income. But I don't have like a full-time gig, right? So I'm jumping in and I'm like, okay, like, do you need me to help with extra stuff? Do you need me to help you with some of your work? Is there any administrative or editing stuff I can come help you with? Because we're a partnership, we're a team. I don't think it's fair to either person and either party in a relationship to have the expectation of doing one over the other. In my opinion, things are more fluid. We should all be doing both. Because if you were by yourself and single, guess what? You'd have to do it all on your own. And a lot of women want to be single because a lot of men have the mentality that they don't have to do anything at home. And it makes a woman's life easier to not have to deal with a grown man who can't cook for himself, make his laundry, clean up after himself while she's working a full-time job, which is essentially a requirement for every adult in this society at this time in America anyways.
Thin is to be able to do this. However, if a woman chooses to be one or the other, she's damned either way. A woman is damned if she chooses to be success-oriented and career-driven in today's society, which was built by men for men. If you want to learn a bit more about this, you can watch my video titled Why Successful Women Struggle to Find Love. But for the sake of this conversation, let's look at how a woman is damned the other way. There are a great many women who at their very core are caretaking, are nurturing, are helpful, are service-oriented, are collaborative, receptive.
You know, I will say I do agree with her there. If you are a stay-at-home mom, there might be people that judge you for that. If you try to do both, you might be judged for not devoting more time to your children. I don't think it's because of the women's rights movement. I think it's because people are mean. And everyone has their own expectation of what a woman can be, and that's why consistently pushing these gender normative viewpoints are kind of harmful in my opinion. And I want to point out, just to bring this back to the cult aspect of Teal and what she does, is this is her form of conditioning. She knows exactly who she's targeting right now. She knows that this is going to get people like me frustrated, and she also knows it's going to get people who think the exact opposite of me to commit more to her and her messaging. I think she also recognizes that doing everything all of the time for a woman is very, very challenging. They talk about the mental load, domestic labor all of the time, and those points are true. So if there is a woman out there who's otherwise very satisfied with her life, she comes across this video, and then this video creates conflict with her partner because she might be starting to fight about, well, I want to be one or the other. I don't want to be both. Who knows? I just think when we watch videos like this, whether you like Teal Swan or not, or any, spiritual life coach, anything, whatever influencer online, however they like to categorize themselves, they're all just kind of doing the same thing. They're trying to share their inflammatory beliefs to gain attention, because when they get attention, that is currency, that is money, whether it's in the form of, Teal's view, AdSense revenue, and also selling her courses and selling her paintings and selling her, summits or whatever she calls them, her gatherings. She's trying to get as many views as possible. And again, I would imagine in her relationships, she is probably the primary breadwinner. She is probably carrying more of those masculine traits. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense. This is why I usually have a script, guys, because I will just talk and talk and talk and talk.
Gentle, vulnerable, sensitive, caring, and most of all, supportive. In alignment with this, these women would actually be more naturally called to roles within society that are supportive ones. Their soul calling and personal expansion would lead to them thriving in positions that might be seen as more traditional female roles, including roles as, let's say, housewives or mothers. They may be far more fulfilled, supporting another person's endeavors, such as their husband's career success, for example. They may thrive in a relationship arrangement where they do not hold the financial pressure. These women are an absolute blessing to the society, regardless of whether their role within a society that is based off of marriage and nuclear family looks more like being a housewife or stay-at-home mom, or whether in a society that is, say, structured differently, it would look more like being a caregiver and a nurturer who offers help and support to the rest of the social group in whatever way is needed at the time. But women who naturally fall into this category are not valued in today's society. Sure, again and again in experiments and studies, these qualities in a woman cause people to perceive her as more likable, but just because people find her likable doesn't mean that they respect her. In fact, the opposite is true. This is how she's seen in today's modern society. A, she's not fulfilling her true potential. B, she is oppressed into the position of inferiority. C, she's going against the women's rights movement, and therefore against other women and for patriarchy. D, she's a pawn to the far right politically. E, that she'll end up in a domestic abuse situation. F, she's showcasing that she and women in general are incapable. Essentially, she's not seen as a truly valuable member of society.
Okay, we're just going to speculate wildly, aren't we, Teal? The whole point of the women's rights movement was to empower a woman's choice, that a woman could choose what she wanted. It is totally fine for women to choose to be homemakers and stay-at-home moms. Amazing. You want that? Go do that. But not every woman wants that. And so for the women that don't want that, they wanted other opportunities. But at the end of the day, the women's rights movement was emphasizing a woman to choose her own life path. Me, I'm child-free. People like to judge women who are child-free. They consider us selfish. They consider us not living up to our potential, more career-driven, more masculine-focused, not living in our soft girl era, not feminine. Why don't I want kids? Because I don't know. I've never wanted them. I can't give you a reason because it's just not for me. But I've always wanted to be an actor. I've always wanted to be successful on my own financially. I had an amazing single mother as a role model. So I just don't think that this is fair. And yes, society judges stay-at-home moms similarly. And being a stay-at-home mom and a homemaker is a full-time job. And if a woman wants that and she is financially able to because she has a support system, more power to her. I think this conversation would be better if you weren't, Teal, pitting women who are more career focused versus more home focused against each other, because that's what you're doing, because you're basically demonizing a movement that wanted to empower women to do whatever they wanted, just like you get to do. You have a platform. You get to say whatever bullshit you want to say online with no repercussions and no awareness to how you might be negatively affecting people and no ability to take responsibility for the people that you have harmed. And yet you're going to get people to further subscribe to this very binary thinking and blame the women's rights movement for it? Give me a break.
The women's rights movement threw men into a lose-lose scenario too. As a result, it has created serious friction between men and women. In some cases out of spite, and in some cases because boys have now been indoctrinated and raised within a polarity-flipped society, the vast majority of men, especially in the Western world, have jumped on the bandwagon of expecting a woman to do and be everything. Many men nowadays look down on a woman who doesn't have something going for herself. Of course, this means a woman whose authentic calling quite literally is about.
I'm just wondering like where she is seeing this, because I feel like everything I see on the manosphere is like slut shaming women, or if women have money, it's got to be from a sugar daddy, or like not believing women have anything to offer apart from their looks. Like, where is she getting all of this? I mean, I do think that there has been a cultural shift, but I feel like it's kind of like more empowering people to go back to this like traditional pre feminist movement era rather than like, oh my gosh, woe is us. The women's rights movement was so terrible for everybody. No, I'm blaming the manosphere, okay? You cannot tell me otherwise.
Supporting others. Many men are now looking for a woman who will pull her own weight financially and who is driven for personal success in some way. It is far harder in today's world for a woman who falls.
I think it all depends on the type of lifestyle you want and if you're attracted to more driven women. It's not just men versus women anymore. Can we just let human beings be human beings and not be like, you need to be downgraded? I'm going to lump you up with every other woman. These generalizations are so dangerous.
This category of being a natural supporter to find a relationship that works for her. She is looked down on, and as a result of this, in order to be valued within society, feels that she has to go against her true authentic nature. So many women are suffering, and badly, because they in fact do fit with the more traditional roles that women held over the last centuries, but now they can't be valued in these roles. They're made to feel bad and wrong about themselves, and they end up going against their own personal nature. Nor can they find men who want to enter into relationship dynamics that enable them.
I'm sure this is a truth for some women. I'm not trying to invalidate that experience because we are also, but blaming it on the women's rights movement when I know all of my feminist friends were like, no, women should absolutely be getting income for raising children and taking care of a home. That household is saving 6 figures a year from childcare, laundry, cleaning services, cooking, all of that. That's a full-time job. She never gets a day off. She never gets a time off. Being a mother, that's one of the reasons I don't want to be one, I guess. It's a full-time job. You never really get a break. You never get a day off. You never get time off. You have to be available to your child. And that's not a responsibility that every single person wants to take on. I think it would be more selfish to take that on and expect to get a break, you know what I mean? Because you are the protector and provider for your kid, regardless if you're a man or a woman.
Be in those roles. And men are suffering because of the fact that so many men need this kind of support and want that, but they're afraid to admit it to themselves or other people because it's seen as so wrong and bad to want that, especially from a woman. Woohoo! And they find it very hard to find women who want to do it, right? Why would a woman want to step into this and admit she wants to do this when all of society is crapping on her for it? Children are suffering greatly because of this as well. Basically, the supportive woman is.
God, I feel like it's the opposite. I'm like, are you on the internet? I feel like you're more demonized nowadays if you aren't having children and don't need a man.
Now stigmatized. This conundrum that supportive women are put in will only change when we change a great many things. First and foremost, we need to change our attitude towards women who exhibit these character traits that are now synonymous with support. We need to deeply recognize their value and, by doing so, enable them to be in the positions and roles that suit them best. We have to stop making people, especially men in this case, bad and wrong for needing and wanting a woman in their life to fill this role. We also need to stop politicizing people's lives, including the lives of women who are choosing what people are calling traditional wife roles. And we need to open our minds up to possibilities. If you look back over time, there were many roles within any kingdom or within any society, and many different roles that offered a man or a woman esteem. There are so many different expressions of.
Teal, can you just. Which is it? Which is it? You've spoken for almost 10 minutes and saying the opposite of the point you just made. I don't think she knows what she means or what the point she wants to make. I think she just sits and starts talking. But hey, I guess I'm doing the same thing.
Both masculinity and femininity. What's important is that we find our authentic expression and whatever role fits in with that. It is critical that society supports exactly that rather than spending its time trying to cram people into boxes, which, believe me, it spends an unbelievable amount of time doing. Something that was recognized back when the feminist movement was started is that not every woman is born for her expression to fit into the current model or to be in the role that we expect her to be in. But guess what? This is as true today with our current model as it was with a 1950s housewife.
I I feel like her points were like so opposing that they're just like ping-ponging in my head at this point. Like, do you know, Teal, what you really wanted to say there? Oh my gosh. It's a classic example of, like, saying a lot, but saying nothing at all. I don't know. I don't know. That's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because she could have started with that, you know what I mean? But this is, like, what I mean, I kinda talked about it at the beginning of my video. There's always something, like, good that draws people into a culty group or, an ideology that ends up being inherently bad. So and I think that a lot of people like this, they want you to be confused because then you seek to them to clarify all of the time. So if they say something confusing and you have questions, don't worry, everyone. You can find me in Miami and come to one of my conferences that's going to be in a hotel and it'll cost $100. And you might be able to ask me a clarifying question because that's what she does. She has these seminars and these hotel conference rooms that people pay for so they can ask her questions because everything she says online is so damn convoluted that it's difficult for people to fully wrap their heads around it. But I believe that her and people like her do this intentionally so that people are confused. It feels like your brain is getting tied up into a knot. You don't fully comprehend what she's saying because she's speaking in circles and not making a ton of sense or contradicting herself a second later. And so you're like, I need to ask some clarifying questions. And she's like, awesome, pay me money to ask me your question. Anyways, guys, this is not a bashing Teal Swan video. I just wanted to try to react to things that her and people like her put out from a different lens, where we try to understand the nuances and kind of pick apart where the things that she says are either misguided, untrue, confusing, whatever. So I'm eager to hear what your opinions are. Let me know if you like this sort of video, and I hope you stuck around till the end. Put a little blue heart if you did. So, everybody, I want to say thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your holiday week. If you are celebrating Thanksgiving, I know a lot of people don't celebrate Thanksgiving or not for the reasons why. um, Most people celebrate Thanksgiving. So, whatever you are doing this week, I hope you are well fed. I hope you are very happy. I hope you feel very comfortable. And I hope you stay safe, you ask questions, and always stay skeptical. I will see you guys in my next video very soon. Thank you all so much. Bye.